AI never sleeps, and this has been yet another insane week. We have an open source AI that can add effects to a video just by prompting it. We have another one that can turn an image into a very consistent 3D video. We have an AI robot that can do surgeries as good as human doctors. We have another AI where you can tap a beat and it will turn it into a legit drum beat. Plus, we have a tiny open source model that beats the top models out there, including Claude 3.5 Sonnet and GPT 4o, and a lot more. So let's jump right in. First up, this open source AI is freaking amazing. It's called AutoVFX by the University of Illinois, and this allows you to basically edit videos with just a prompt. And this includes adding visual effects or adding objects in an existing video. So here's an example. Let's say the prompt is throw a basketball with fire towards the vase with flowers and break the vase with collision. And so here's the before, here's the input video, and here is the after. How insane is that? Here's another example. So if the prompt is melt the vase with flowers into liquid, here is what we get. Here's another one. Let's say you want to make the vase with flowers break. This is what we get. Here, if the prompt is drop 5 basketballs on the table, this is what you get. And indeed, there are 5 basketballs. You can even add characters in the video. So let's say insert an animated Pikachu on the table. This is what you get. How insane is that? It can do all of this just with a prompt. You can even change the composition or look of existing objects in the video. So let's say the prompt is make the vase with flowers to be like a mirror. Well, here is what you get. Here the prompt is make the vase with flowers 1.5 times bigger and make it drop onto the table. And indeed, it makes the vase 1.5 times bigger and drops it on the table. Pretty insane. Here the prompt is generate a vintage suitcase and place it on the table. And that is indeed what we get. Here's another example where you can simply just prompt it to insert characters into this video. So if the prompt is insert an animated dragon moving above and around the floor, this is what you get. Now notice how the dragon walks on the floor. This isn't completely accurate, but this is a start. You can see how such a tool could be a game changer in terms of, creating films and animations and video games. So here's another example. If the prompt is set up a campfire in the middle of the floor, this is what you get. Here the prompt is drop 4 barrels onto the floor, one mirror-like, one with fabric textures, one resembling pavement, and one unchanged. A pretty complex prompt, but it handles it beautifully. Indeed, there are 4 barrels, one is like a mirror, one has fabric textures, one resembles pavement, and the other one looks like a normal barrel. It also works with videos with higher motion like this driving video. So let's say the prompt is insert a physics-enabled Benz G 20 meters in front of us with random 2D rotation at a Ferrari moving forward. And here is what we get. We can see that this Ferrari is ramming into this Benz G car. Pretty incredible. Here the prompt is add a Benz S driving towards us, and here's what we get. Here this just looks like a still image, and then if the prompt is drop a Benz G with fire randomly in 10 meters front of our vehicles and from 3 meters high, this is what we get. Indeed, this is a Benz G with fire that drops on the ground. Here's another example. Let's say the prompt is break the sculpture. Oopsies, here's what happens. Now, there are some existing tools out there that serve the same function, but AutoVFX is just way better. So here is a comparison between AutoVFX and 3 other existing methods, and if the prompt is turn the vase of flowers into mirror, you can see AutoVFX is the only one that got it correct. Here the prompt is insert a Goku figurine on the ground and make it on fire. You can see again AutoVFX is the only one that can actually insert Goku on the ground and make him on fire. And here's a video you saw before. The prompt is insert an animated Pikachu on the table, and again AutoVFX is the only one that got it correct. They even compared this with the proprietary model Pika 1.5, which I featured in a previous video. In fact, see this video to learn more about Pika 1.5. Now, Pika has this feature called Pika Effects, which allows you to add predefined visual effects into your video, such as melting certain objects in a video or making things crumble. But as you can see, even when comparing to Pika 1.5, which is closed source, this AutoVFX handles these effects a lot better. Really quickly, here's how it works. So this framework consists of 3 stages. The first one is called this scene modeling stage, which basically takes an input video and tries to understand the 3D scene and the objects within the video. In the next stage, it takes a user's prompt, for example, throw a basketball with fire towards the vase, and then it generates a program that specifies all the editing tasks that it needs to do based on the prompt. And then in the final stage, it gets the relevant editing tasks from this database called VFX modules. And this is basically a collection of predefined functions that can manipulate the video, for example, animating objects or generating visual effects. Now, the awesome thing is they've already released the code, or at least part of the code, on GitHub. So you can install this and run it locally on your computer. The good news is they mentioned that it works on just a single RTX 4090. And I'm sure there's going to be more quantized versions coming out in the future. Now, currently to run this tool, you need to work with all this code, which might not be intuitive, but they are planning to release a Gradio user interface in the future, and this makes it a lot more intuitive to use. So stay tuned for that. Anyways, the link to this GitHub repo is at the top here, so I'll link to this main page in the description below for you to read further. Alright, next up, this free and open source tool might be even more impressive. It's called DimensionX, and this allows you to create 3D and 4D scenes from just a single image. So here are a few examples. Let's say the input image is this girl. You can create a 3D scene from just this one image of a girl, and also control the camera movements. So you can like zoom in, zoom out, rotate, pan, tilt. This is already pretty incredible. Here's another example of this robotic arm, and as you can see from just one photo, it's able to create this 3D scene where you can zoom in and even rotate it to the side, and it can guess what everything looks like with pretty high accuracy and consistency. Here's another example. Notice that for a lot of these, it has to do a lot of guessing. It doesn't really know, for example, how this house would look at the back, but it's able to use AI to fill in these blanks very well. Here's another example where the AI has no data on what exactly is behind these cups as you rotate the camera around the scene, but it's able to extrapolate this very nicely and just fill in the blanks. This is by far the best tool I've seen that can do this. Here's another example. Note the super realistic reflection of the sky in the water. I mean, everything is just super consistent. And it's doing all of this from just one photo, which is really impressive. Here are some more examples on how you can specify different camera movements for the same input. And the quality and consistency of everything is just insane. Especially for these like orbit shots, it really needs to guess and generate what things would look like as you turn left or right. Here's another example of this portrait of a golden retriever, but using different camera movements. Here's yet another example. This is a very tricky generation. The AI has to do a lot of guessing, but nevertheless, it's able to handle this very well. Here are some additional examples, and this time it's showcasing how we can generate a 360-degree orbit view just from one image. Now again, this is super tricky because just from one image, you don't really know how the back of objects like this whale would look like. So the AI has to do a lot of guessing here, and as you can see, there are some noticeable flaws with this whale as soon as it rotates to the other side, but keep in mind this is a very hard task for it to do. Here's another example of a 360-degree shot of an animated landscape scene. You can also input videos to this and generate multiple perspectives. As you can see, here is the original video on the left, and then this tool basically allows you to generate a video of the scene but at a different angle. This is so useful for things like TV shows or films or YouTube videos. You no longer need to buy and set up multiple cameras at different angles. You can just take one video and plug it into this AI to generate multiple views. How insane is that? Here's another example. I mean, there's just so many awesome use cases with this tool. It's definitely a game changer. Now, they've already released part of the code on GitHub, so if you click into this, you can actually get started and download this to use right away. So right now, they've only released a few camera actions, orbit left and orbit up, but they are planning to release the rest of the checkpoints in the future. They also have a Hugging Face space for you to test this out. And this is in a very intuitive Gradio interface, so it's really easy to use. Anyways, all the links are at the top here, so I'll link to this main page in the description below for you to read further. Next up, this tool is super cool. It's called TRIA, which stands for the rhythm in anything. And let me just show you their demo reel. So here's what it does. You simply upload 2 audio samples. So for example, the first is some drum sounds that you want to replicate. For example, and then the second one is just a beat. So you can just beatbox or tap a beat on the table. And basically what this does is it maps these drum samples onto the beat that you made. How cool is that? Thanks to Vivago for sponsoring this video. Bring your imaginations to life with Vivago, an advanced AI platform that allows you to create stunning images and videos. They have a powerful video generator that can produce clips of up to 10 seconds long. Plus, they have a new magic prompt and prompt bot feature, which uses AI to help you craft the perfect prompt for your video. With their keyframe feature, you can upload images for the start and end frame of the video for more control. This allows you to produce some pretty cool transition videos. Another feature they've added is this motion strength slider, which allows you to control the intensity of motion in your video. It doesn't just work well for realistic videos, but also for cartoon and animation style videos. And Vivago's magic doesn't end there. They offer a ton of AI-powered editing tools that will elevate your creative process, such as repainting, image enhancer, magic expand, and object removal. You can also enhance videos to 4K resolution. Plus, you can easily generate 3D models with just text or an image. You can also generate and edit these 3D models directly in Apple Vision Pro for a seamless AR experience. Try it out for free via the link in the description below. Unleash your creativity today. So here's another example. Here's the drum sample. And then here is the user's beat. And then here's the final result. Here's another example. Here's the drum sound. And then here's the user's beat. And here's the final result. Here's another example. So here's the drum sound. And here's the user's beat. So it looks like he's just blending a ton of audio effects together. It's more of a creative example. Let's see what it outputs. Not bad, not bad. So I think this is a really useful tool for music production. Now, here's the thing. They have not released the code yet, but in the paper, they did mention that they have developed a simple Gradio interface where users can upload timbre and rhythm prompts, etc., etc. So they do have a Gradio interface available, but they just haven't released it yet. And also keep in mind that this is coming from Adobe, so I'm not actually sure if they will open source this or if they're just going to make this a super expensive subscription. Of course, I'm hoping that they do, and I'll definitely keep you posted and maybe even do a tutorial video if they do release this. So stay tuned for that. Next up, Nvidia releases a game-changing image editor. This is called Add-it, and it basically allows you to edit any image just by prompting it. Now, I've actually covered a few of these in previous videos. The most popular one right now is OmniGen, which is already out. So see this video for a full installation and demo of what it can do. I've also featured another semantic image editor called ACE, and this also allows you to edit photos just by prompting it. So if you want to learn more about ACE, see this video. But anyways, this week, Nvidia released basically the same thing. So here are some examples of what it can do. So let's say you input this one image, and if you prompt it with the Nvidia logo on the wall, it adds an Nvidia logo on the wall. Here, if this is the input image and you prompt it with the tennis player wearing a headband, it makes this guy wear a headband. Here's another example. So if this is the input image and the prompt is a sheep wearing boots, it makes the sheep wear boots. Here, if this is the input image and the prompt is a man sitting next to a table, it indeed adds a man sitting next to a table. And you can also do this in multiple steps. So for example, if this is your input image and then you prompt it with a couch in the room, it adds a couch to the room. And then next, if you prompt it with a dog lying on the couch, this is indeed what you get. And then finally, if you prompt it with a painting of cat saying do it, that is also what it adds to the photo, while keeping everything else the same. Here's another example. So if this is your input image and you prompt it with a smartphone displaying a map, this is what you get. Or if this is the input image and the prompt is a bunny sitting on the chair, this is what you get. And it understands context very well. So if you prompt it with the middle dog wearing a hat, it does understand to add a hat only to the dog in the middle. Here's another example, a bouquet of flowers in the basket, and this is what you get. And apparently this does a lot better than current methods. So this first column on the left is the input image, and then the second column is the output from Nvidia's Add-it. And then the rest of these columns are from other alternatives. Now, it's really surprising to me that they did not add OmniGen in their comparison, right? We don't see OmniGen up here. I mean, OmniGen is pretty damn good, and they might have intentionally left it out, otherwise it would be a really close call. But anyways, you can see if this is the input image and the prompt is a coyote behind the red-headed bird, Nvidia's Add-it is the only one that was able to actually add the coyote behind the bird. And then over here, if the prompt is a fork on the left side of the plate, again, Nvidia's tool is the only one that can actually add a decent looking fork to the left of the plate. And then same with this one here. If the prompt is a basket on the front of the bicycles, you can see Nvidia's tool is the only one that can add a decent looking basket in the front of the bicycle. Here's another one. So if the prompt is a toy truck in the child's hands, that is indeed what it added here. If you do it with this prompt-to-prompt method, it completely changes the look of the child. And if you use this SD-edit method, well, there is no truck. Same thing here. So if the prompt is the man is holding a shopping bag, Nvidia's is the only one that is actually able to add shopping bags while keeping everything else the same. And then finally, if the prompt is a microscope on the counter next to the samples, again, Nvidia's tool is the only one that is able to add a microscope while keeping everything else consistent. Anyways, they have created a GitHub repo, and on it, it says they will release the code soon. So I'll definitely announce this on my channel once they do release it, and I'll probably do a tutorial and review on this. So stay tuned for that. In other news, Google has released a new AI model called Gemini Experimental 11.14. So this is currently available in Google's AI Studio. At the model drop-down up here, you can select Gemini Experimental 11.14. And this thing is actually really good. So in this LMSys leaderboard, this is basically a place where users can blind test different AI models. And out of all these votes, it seems like Google's new Gemini Experimental 1114 is now ranked number 1. So that's pretty crazy. It even beats GPT-4o, it beats O1 Preview and O1 Mini, and it beats the latest version of Claude 3.5 Sonnet, which has dropped all the way down here. So anyways, you can try it right away for free in Google's AI Studio. It's basically aistudio.google.com, which I'll link to in the description below. In other news, Alibaba has also released a new family of open source coder models called Qwen 2.5 Coder. And this is actually a really big deal. Their flagship model, which is Qwen 2.5 Coder 32B Instruct, this is a super tiny model of only 32 billion parameters. So this can run on a single consumer-grade GPU, but the crazy thing is this can beat the best proprietary models out there, including GPT-4o and Claude 3.5 Sonnet. So note that this Qwen 2.5 Coder is an LLM that is specialized for coding. So these are all benchmarks for coding, and you can see that for most of these, including human eval, it beats even the best proprietary models, GPT-4o and Claude 3.5 Sonnet. Keep in mind that GPT-4o might be like 1.76 trillion parameters. So this Qwen 32 billion parameter model is like 55 times smaller. But the fact that it's able to beat these larger models is really impressive. Now, this Qwen 2.5 Coder family actually includes models of various sizes, including 0.5 billion parameters, and then we have 1.5, 3, 7 billion, 14 billion, and finally 32 billion. And especially these smaller models, these can easily be run on like a tablet or laptop with just a medium tier GPU. And on the site, they say that it supports more than 40 programming languages, and it's particularly good at identifying and fixing code errors. Now, they fully open source this, so you can download all these models to test out on Hugging Face. They've also released a really cool Hugging Face space called Qwen 2.5 Coder Artifacts, and this basically allows you to enter in a prompt to specify whatever app you want to create, and not only does it output the code, but it also outputs the final results in this window on the right here, so you can play around with it in real time and make edits. So for example, let's try this one. This is pretty interesting. So if the prompt is write code in a single HTML file, capture the click event, and place a random number of emojis at the click position, and add gravity and collision effects to each emoji, let's see what that gives us. So I'm going to click send, and note that right now it's coding everything up in this single HTML page. All right, so after the code is done, if I click anywhere on the page, whoa, look at that. This is pretty impressive. And if I click again, we get more emojis splashing everywhere, and it does have gravity and collision effects. This is super cool. So I'll link to this Hugging Face space as well as their main page in the description below for you to play around further. Next up, this tool is huge. So NASA and Microsoft have teamed up to create this really helpful tool called Earth Copilot. And here's what it does. Think of it as like Google Earth, but instead of manually trying to find spatial geographical information yourself, you can simply prompt it and it'll spit out the answer for you like this. So for example, you can ask it what's the population density of a certain area, or what's the air quality like in a certain region, or you can ask it to show you the crop health of agricultural areas. This tool is so incredibly useful for geospatial research. Now, on this page, it does say at the moment the NASA Earth Copilot is available to NASA scientists and researchers to explore and test its capabilities. So I'm not sure if they would eventually release this to the public, but even if not, I could see how another competitor could easily build a similar project that's open source. I mean, this is just training an AI to understand and output geospatial data. And I mean, before, if you wanted to do geospatial research, it is a really painful process. You need to find multiple layers from multiple data sources and kind of map them together and do all these complex calculations to find what you're looking for. But with this tool, you just prompt an AI and it would gather all the data for you, calculate everything for you, and map it out nicely. Finally, researchers at Johns Hopkins had a surgical AI robot watch a ton of videos of surgical procedures, and then using imitation learning, the robot was able to learn these surgical procedures just by watching these videos. For example, it could learn how to use a needle, lift body tissue, and how to suture. Now, the crazy thing is, it was able to perform all of this as good as human doctors. So here in the article it says, in each case the robot trained on the team's model performed the same surgical procedures as skillfully as human doctors. And I hope you see how this could be revolutionary for medicine and surgery. So here they say the model could be used to quickly train a robot to perform any type of surgical procedure. The team is now using imitation learning to train a robot to perform not just small surgical tasks, but a full surgery. How insane is that to even think about? Maybe in the future we won't have human doctors operating on patients, but instead we'll just have this team of robotic arms doing the entire surgery. And this could have a much higher precision and success rate than human doctors. Anyways, that sums up the highlights in AI this week. Let me know what you think of all of this and which piece of news was your favorite. As always, I will be on the lookout for the top AI news and tools to share with you. So if you enjoyed this video, remember to like, share, subscribe, and stay tuned for more content. Also, there's just so much happening in the world of AI every week. I can't possibly cover everything on my YouTube channel. So to really stay up to date with all that's going on in AI, be sure to subscribe to my free weekly newsletter. The link to that will be in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.